To another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And here we are, ready for another week of football. I'm joined by my co-host Michael Pless. How are you doing tonight, Michael?
Doing great, Gene. How are you doing?
Oh man, excited, man. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
I'm really,
same.
I'm looking forward to the next game to kind of see just how this team does as the
Right.
competition continuously gets better. So I know we've kind of
Yeah.
touched on it a little bit. And if you're not following Michael, please check him out at Real Bucks Talk. Great follow, just high football IQ, and it just doesn't have to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It could be, we could be talking about the Cleveland Browns. He really does a great job, and he has a great grasp on football. So you are appreciated, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm very excited. It just seems like it's been like 5 years since the Bucks have played. So, it's going to be nice to see him finally on Sunday. Again, it's a big game, and I'm happy they got that big turnaround win against Carolina. That was huge. Really played well. Especially after the disappointing loss against San Francisco. That was another game that we probably could have won. We didn't finish in the fourth quarter. But you look at what they did in this game against Carolina, they finished, and that was very important. It's very nice to see that they finished this one. Got a huge win in the division. And now it's about, can you build off of that? Can you get another win and put some winning streaks together? And hopefully this week we can play even better, a full complete football game, offense, defense, and special teams, because we really haven't seen it yet. You want to see the offense be a little bit more cleaner, a little bit more crisp, red zone offense, etc. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited about the direction of the team, and hopefully we can get a home win against this Giants team that is desperate for a win.
Yeah, most definitely. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Antoine Cates, Jay Clark, XLU Garvey, Brent Allen from Pewtercast. What's going on, brother?
What up,
Uh,
Brent?
Buck the World, XLU Garvey, tall FL guy. Um, the way I like what you said. I love everything you said. To me, um, the rest of the NFL hasn't quite caught up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, and people are looking at the Bucks like, okay, yeah, they got lucky, they won this game or whatever. The Bucks will
Mm-hmm.
continue throughout the season to have to win each game, and that's just all. That's just how it is. I mean, when you look at two underwhelming 5-11 seasons, they really haven't
Right.
given people a chance to say, okay, this is what this team is about. So they're going to have to continue to go out and play games, win games, cut down on turnovers, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But I've seen this a lot on social media where people are like, man, they're not taking the Bucks seriously. But again, the Bucks have not in the past couple of years given people a reason to say, okay, let's take this, let's see what this team can do. And I don't know that we can really take them seriously, but this is a game that a lot of people and you had a different view than I have. A lot of people have said, man, the Bucks might not win this game, but I've heard people talk about, well, the Bucks will win this game, or they should win this game. This is a game where they have to go out and execute and show the rest of the NFL what they're all about.
Yeah, definitely. It's a game where you have to get off to a fast start, and that's something I like to see this team do is start fast and start making that a habit. They have to be able to get ahead, especially against the New York Giants. You're facing a rookie quarterback. That's the big news in New York. Rookie quarterback and Daniel Jones, Eli Manning going to the bench. So they're going to probably have a little more energy. Obviously, with 0-2 start, they're going to come out and wanting to establish themselves. I think it's very important for the Bucks to have to match that energy and really start fast. If they can get up to start the game, then you're really looking good, because that really forces the Giants out of what they want to do, which is run the football and play smart. And hopefully we can pick up the tempo and push it on them and see what happens. But yeah, and far as your point, the respect factor, that will come with wins, like you said. I mean,
Yes.
it's about right now it's about building a winning streak. I mean,
Hmm.
Bruce Arians says it all the time. He's like, we haven't done shit yet. And it's true. I mean, we haven't done anything. You got one win, a game that you're supposed to go out there and win the game. That's the key to every week. Um, but it depends on how you respond. Like if you go out this week and you lose, then what does that win do for you? It doesn't really do anything. So you got to be able to put wins back to back and continue to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what I've been thinking. And again, you know me, if you've listened to the podcast, I'll tell you there's no wrong way to be a Bucs fan right now with the lack of wins. People are still hanging in there, still being loyal. I've seen people that are optimistic and I've seen people that are pessimistic, and I understand all sides of that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go out there and show the rest of the NFL this is what we can do. Perry Mathis, what's going on? For you, and I kind of want to go back to this game. I know everybody's kind of ran this game into the ground, the Carolina Panthers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, we haven't gotten to talk about it. And I think, and folks, if this is your first time checking us out, we do the show on Wednesday only because this gives Mike a chance to look at all 22. This gives me a chance to look at all 22 and maybe catch some things that we didn't see when the game was live, or possibly when you're watching the recorded version. With the coach's film, you get a couple of other angles. So it gives you a little bit more insight as to what this team has done or what they're going to continue to do. So that's why we end up doing it on Wednesday and just being able to talk about it and being able to talk about it intelligently. And I think we've got a great group, especially in the chat, guys that really come with the knowledge. So I appreciate you guys.
Right.
So just kind of getting into that game. I know a lot of people. I posed the question, and I know I posed it again on Monday. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Shaq Barrett ended up with 3 sacks. We know that Andrew Adams last year ended up with 3 interceptions. For you, which was the more memorable?
Well, I mean, it probably goes to most recent. I mean, it just happened. So Shaq Barrett, I mean, plus it's early in the season. Last year when Andrew Adams, made those plays, we were kind of out of it. We really weren't in the playoff picture.
Right.
This being the beginning of the season and being 1-0 in the division, I think that has more impact, more memorable. And we really haven't seen a performance like that, from a sack producer. And Shaq Barrett, I mean, he looked really good, and hopefully he can continue to do that, which I think he will. Hopefully he's okay. I know he showed up on the injury report, but I think he's going to be good. But yeah, I mean, that was definitely a memorable moment for sure.
Yeah. Antoine Cates was saying, I have to apologize about Peyton Barber. I'm a believer now. Quick and hits the hole hard. It's good. I mean, it's crazy how underrated he is as a running back. But I've always liked how consistent he's been when he runs the ball, even without an offensive line to run behind or run in front. Run behind. I think that he's always been consistent, and you've heard me say that he always has made the most of his opportunities to make plays and make it to where he is right now as the starting running back.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton is he's Mr. Consistent. He does everything pretty well. Doesn't do anything great, but, when he's running north and south downhill, I think he's, one of the better backs. And he really runs well between the tackles, always moving his feet. I know fans have talked about him as being, the Ernest Graham of today. And I think that's pretty accurate. I think he's got some similar abilities to Ernest Graham. And, Peyton just does a good job of always getting those extra yards. He did it, last week against Carolina. The touchdown run that he had was pretty much he was untouched, which was nice to see. I mean, he just went right through the hole. But just those tough physical yards that he was getting throughout the game was really wearing down Carolina, and that's important. And just having that to be able to close out the game, I think that was good. Probably would have liked to see a little bit more of Rojo, but I think he got a little nicked up towards that second half of the game, and Peyton was just running so well, so you just keep feeding him the ball. So
yeah,
A lot of good things from those two.
Yeah, you got to go with the hot hand, and at that time it was Peyton Barber. I love the way he was running the ball. Again, just moving the sticks forward and just sticking in there. So
Right.
again, it's just one of those things that we just got to continue. Hopefully, we'll continue to see this. And guys, if your guy isn't playing, somebody that you like on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is not playing right now, it's still early in the season, and there's a potential that you will see them at some point in time throughout the season. Tanner Hudson, Daria Gumbawale. There are players out there that we haven't gotten to see, but again, it's still early. And as long as the Bucs are winning, that right there is what matters, because that just kind of puts you ahead in league standings in the division to get to where we can possibly be potentially looking at a playoff spot. Don't want to jump too far ahead, but that's kind of how my mindset is as far as this goes.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. So, like I said last week, it's a week to week league. Just look how much has changed in the NFL overall picture at this division. You have the Drew Brees injury. You have Cam Newton still being, he's still up in the air as far as injury. So just a lot of things that you just never know. I mean, a lot of things can change just like that. You look at Jalen Ramsey and the Minka Fitzpatrick and all these guys, looking to be traded, and just a lot of different things that go on throughout the days as we go into these games. So that's the main message I think the Bucs coaching staff has done a good job of, is making sure these guys are staying focused on just today. Like, just take care of today's business, and then you go on to the next one.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's a great point to bring up, is when I look at this team and I look at Mike Evans, and I know Mike Evans has had a quiet start to the season, but trust and believe he's going to pick it up at some point in time. I'll definitely talk about OJ Howard as we go through the show, but I just want to point out Mike Evans and what a quality receiver we have. Just an all-around great player when you look at how much he's given up in salary to make sure that we're able to keep people or possibly bring other people in. So to him, I think he sees the big picture, and we're very fortunate as Bucs fans to have somebody of the caliber of a Mike Evans.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think Mike is very understanding of, what, if I don't get my numbers and we win, I'm okay with that. We're good. As long as we win games, I think that's what he's focused on this year. He's tired of missing the playoffs. And just look what he's doing for Chris Godwin. I mean, Chris Godwin is taking advantage of, what he's seeing. And Jameis has the right to do so, to go towards Godwin, because he's facing, lesser coverage. Same thing with OJ Howard. Teams know OJ Howard, what he can do and what he presents. I think, he had OJ Howard, I think, over the middle last week, and that could have been a nice gain. So those two really have to focus on their chemistry a little bit better. I know Jameis maybe have a little trust issue with OJ. So they got to work on that and become a little bit better as far as Jameis and Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate and Jameis are already, they're good. So now you just got to get that next level where OJ can be a little bit more featured. And I think this week will actually be a good week for him, because the Giants and the way they match up, OJ can really take advantage of what they present.
Yeah. Hey, Brent, thank you so much for clearing that up. Mike hasn't given up anything in salary. He just took the check early. Basically, the Bucs just borrowed from future years' cap space to pay for this year. Yeah. Again, thanks for clearing that up. That's exactly right. Again, Brent Allen from Pewtercast. If you're not following that show, another great podcast. And I just want to take a moment to talk about some of these good podcasts out here. When you look at, and I heard somebody mention ESPN, and we've heard about NFL Network and how poorly they cover this team. I think podcasts like yours, Real Bucs Talk, like Pewtercast, different podcasts that are out there that are picking up the slack and giving quality information, quality sports talk on the team that we really like. And I think as the years progress, I think you're going to see more podcasts throughout the league and I think that will start to take over. And because fans want to know what's going on with their team, they want their teams reported accurately. So shout out to you guys. I think you guys do a great job.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So just kind of getting back to the game, because I know that we want to kind of touch on the New York Giants game. I think the Bucs defense did a great job with stopping the run.
Right.
Christian McCaffrey was the feature back for the Carolina Panthers, and stopping Cam Newton was also part of that whole scenario there. I went on record even before the game saying that I didn't believe Cam Newton was 100% healthy. And,
Mhm.
I stood by that just watching him the first game of the season. I'm not using that. I'm not saying that's an excuse or anything like that. Just what he did and what he normally does did not look like the same thing, other than that scarf that he had on his head. But we're not here to talk about fashion. This is not a fashion show because I have no fashion sense myself. So, to that point, I think what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to do was go out and get that win. Defense did what they were supposed to do. They really cut down on some of the penalties, and I will say the timely penalties. Those
Right.
back-breaking penalties that you saw. I mean, we still see them, but as I think as the season progresses, it'll get better. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I think, it was definitely better as far as the penalties go. Is still, you like to see some things cleaned up. Just certain things you couldn't have. The safety in the second half is something you got to get rid of, and just can't allow that to happen. But you know, overall, I thought, like you said, defensively, their game plan was we're going to shut down Christian McCaffrey, and we're gonna make Cam Newton beat us with his weapons on the outside, and he just wasn't able to do so. And I think the big thing was the Bucs were able to hit him early and hit him often. And I think once they started hitting him, you could just see the accuracy just continue to fall as the game went on, and it really affected him. And he wasn't scrambling, obviously, because of his ankle injury or foot injury. So yeah, I think that played a big part. But you got to give credit to the defense. I thought they played really hard, and they made a lot of good plays where guys were in position and they were tackling. I think that was the biggest thing, is tackling. Um,
Yeah.
you
Uh,
know,
I'm glad you said that, because I do, want to pose a question. We look at this defense from last year,
oh, it's night
and
and day.
yeah, and how many points did we see continuously that this defense was just giving up? They just it was just ridiculous, the amount of points, yards they were just getting gouged against the run. And
Right.
what we're seeing now is something totally different.
Oh yeah, and last year you go to last year. I think I put up a clip of the Giants and Bucks game of last year where the Giants just went down the field in like 5 plays and just scored with ease. It was a lot of it. It was just either giving up the big play, down the field, or it was just a little dink and dunk, and the guy takes it for another 30 yards because we don't know how to tackle. So, yeah, just the tackling improvement has been significant, and guys really just running to the football, I think, has been the biggest thing. And you see that. I mean, you look at the 4th and 2 play at the goal line. Vernon Hargraves probably last year, probably the whole team probably would have got faked out, and Christian McCaffrey probably would have had, easy run in. But it just showed like guys were being disciplined and staying in their gaps. And that goes back to preparation. It goes back to coaching as well. Guys know what to look for. Obviously, they knew, what was coming here, and they made the play. So that is very exciting to see. You can see guys communicating, and really being in the spots that they need to be. Yeah, sure, they might get beat sometimes, but it's not to the point where it's killing this team. I mean, only allowed one touchdown through 2 games. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken F, shout out to Ken, longtime listener. He was asking, do we think that the Bucks defense can be top 10? And what effect do you think that JPP can have if and when he returns?
Oh,
And if you don't mind, I do want to jump on this first. I
okay, yeah,
think
go ahead.
I think the Bucks are like between 8 and 10 right now, ranking wise. I know it's still early in the season, but I think
Yeah.
they're right up there. I think they've got to be at the most, the worst, like 11th. But it's interesting. We haven't really had to mention JPP's name, but I think that if he comes back, if he can come back healthy, if he can come back with the same play that we saw last year, that's only going to help this team. Uh, I'm looking at players like Carl Nassib,
Mhm.
and we look at Shaq Barrett, and this interior doing what they've been doing. And somebody had mentioned Vita Vea earlier, and I'll get back to that post in a minute. That comment here in the chat. I was really excited about Vita Vea being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I wasn't, and I'm going to go on record saying, and you can go back to the podcast and look. I was not a huge Derwin James fan. I thought that the trenches were a little bit more important. So
Mhm.
it's just something that I felt like I thought the Bucs did a great job, and I believe you were on board with that as well.
Oh, Vita Vea, yeah. I mean, that was our guy. That was one of our top draft picks in that draft. We were pretty much, it was either Quentin Nelson or Vita Vea. We were one pick away from Quentin Nelson. So, trading down and getting a guy like Vita, I think that was a home run, and it's showing. It's showing so right now. But as far as the question from Ken, yeah, this defense is definitely capable of being a top 10 unit. I think the main thing is obviously staying healthy. So far, they've been that. You have a couple guys, Devin White and Jamel Dean, kind of banged up, but it looks like they're not going to be long-term injuries. I would expect them back either probably next week. I think they'll be out this week, but probably get those guys back pretty soon, which is good. And then with the addition of JPP, I think obviously that's going to make your defense to a whole nother level because JPP is a guy that you can put on the inside next to a guy like Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, and he can just cause havoc. So if we get anything like the JPP from last year, then yeah, I mean the impact is going to be significant. But right now, this unit's good enough to be a top 10 unit just the way they play. I think scheme and execution, I think is really showing what it can be about as long as guys are in the right spot, and so far they're doing that.
Yeah, most definitely. Again, there's the secondary is something I'm keeping an eye on throughout the season. I've been pleasantly surprised
Mhm.
with what they've done. I know
Right.
with all the draft picks and all the everything that's been invested in this secondary, we should have high expectations. But just for me, I've been very happy with what they've been doing, and I'm really interested to see how they do against better quality wide receivers than what they've been facing. And
Sure.
I just want to get an idea of what you really have. So again, this New York Giants game will be very interesting for me because we'll just it'll give us a chance to see how they do against the next team up.
Right. Yeah, and it's against a rookie quarterback, and obviously we've had our struggles against backups and rookies as far as quarterbacks go. So it's going to be interesting to see how the mindset is as far as how they come into this game. Again, I talked about it earlier in the show. You got to start fast, really take the Giants out of what they want to do offensively. If you can take Saquon Barkley out of the game plan, I think that would be very significant because they're going to try to do some things with Daniel Jones. I think they're going to try to do some read options and stuff like that. Give him some RPO, some high quality percentage passes.
And you
So
get them in a
you
rhythm.
really, yeah. So you really just got to be aware of that and try to take advantage of it early. If I'm the Bucs defense, I would probably blitz often and early. See if you can rattle them. See if you can cause some turnovers or something of that nature. And then offensively, I think all you have to do is what you did last week, and that's protect the football, and then you got to capitalize on the red zone opportunities. I think you had two that were dropped. You had Mike Evans that dropped one, and then you had Brashad Perriman that should have caught the ball. So,
Jesus Christ, that
yeah.
was the stone-handed. He's becoming the incarnation of the stone-handed devil. So
Right.
I hope that's just not the case. But if it is, it is what it
Yeah.
is. Daniel Villanueva was saying, "Are you guys a little worried about how there were wide open receivers on the against this defense at times, or does that come with the scheme?"
No, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, yeah, there were some guys that were open. But again, that comes with the learning curve. There's still going to be growing pains. You had a new middle linebacker in there, and Kevin Minter, and I think at times he got a little bit confused with coverage as far as who was supposed to pick up or if he was supposed to stay. So yeah, that caused some guys to be wide open. But you look at what the pressure they were doing up front to Cam Newton. I think that had a big effect as far as why he was so widely, he's so inaccurate, towards the second half, because he's rushing his throws because he's getting hit all the time. And,
Yeah.
that plays a part into it. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully this week they can be a little bit more tighter. You don't want to see guys running scot-free, but, I'm not too worried about it. I think they can make corrections as they go along.
Yeah. My whole thing is, keep the ball in front of you. Don't, you can't
Right.
let those people getting behind you. I mean, that's kind of,
Exactly.
we saw that at times. Again, you rookie quarterback first start, so we'll, definitely see how they do. I
Mhm.
think that the way Todd Bowles, runs that defense, you will see some blitzes, you'll see some disguised blitzes, and you'll see some things that you're not really expecting. I love the creativity of this defense this year, and it's been
Mhm.
really fun for me to watch so far.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. It's been a complete, 180 as far as what we're seeing defensively. So, yeah, I mean, it's just allowing guys to play free and play fast. I think that's the biggest difference. I mean, these guys look so much faster on the field. Really getting to that football quicker. It's really nice to see. Again, they're going to have tougher tests coming up. As the season goes along, you're going to have better quarterbacks that you'll be facing,
Yeah,
offenses that are more in tuned. Again, you feel bad because the team should be 2-0. You let that
yeah,
49ers game slip away. So that's the unfortunate part. But again, it's in the past now. You got to move on. What you do on Sunday, that's all that matters right now.
hmm,
Get to 2-1, and then you just build from there. Uh, but it starts with playing, even better. You got to pick it up every week and become that next step forward. And now it's about the offense, coming together, defense, continue to play like they have, and maybe even better.
yeah. And the one thing that I'm really appreciating is that this team is getting better each week.
Mhm.
When you look back at preseason, and I know a lot of people say preseason doesn't count,
Yeah.
but we've seen, as Bucks fans, you've seen where things have carried over from preseason into the regular season and continue to rear its ugly head all the way through. So,
Right.
in this instance, I will say that I like the growth that this team has shown. And I go back to Vita Vea, who was out all those games, and he comes back in football shape, and he does well against the 49ers, and then he even elevates his game even more the next game. So just
Right.
players like that, it makes me excited because everybody's buying into this defense, and that's what's important right there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the same thing throughout the other units of the team, offense, special teams. Um, yeah, so it's very important that these guys continue to buy in. I think the coaching staff has done a good job of making sure guys are on the same page. So that's all big. I mean, it just continues to grow as we get into the season, like you said, and hopefully we just see the elevation continue, from all sides of the field, offense, defense, special teams. Again, there's a lot of little things that can be better, and that's what you got to look for in these upcoming weeks. If they can fix those little things, they'd be right on point.
Yeah, Daniel Villanueva had some really good questions. He has another one. He was asking, "What are our thoughts on MJ Stewart?" And again, I want to see a couple more games out of him. To be very
Mm-hmm.
honest, this is a new defense. I'm not quite sure what we have because of how he was used last year, and I'll go on record saying I don't believe he was utilized correctly. And I know that he has been beaten on some plays, but he's bounced back and made plays as well. And he's a pretty solid tackler as well.
Yeah, MJ is a guy that he's got to win. Right. He's kind of similar to Carlton. They like to press a lot, play physical, win at the point of attack. Not the fastest guy in the field, but I think he's a very smart player, and I think he's done a lot of good things. Again, has the ability to blitz, has the ability to make tackles against running backs, etc. He's just a guy that you can match up against different personnel. So I think he's a good spot, and I think he's getting better. Same with the rest of the secondary. You look at what Jordan Whitehead. I can't talk enough about Jordan Whitehead because that's another guy that we had pegged as a guy we loved, and he's just turning out to be a really good player. And Mike Edwards, I mean, made a lot of nice plays last week as well, and he's starting to come into his own. So yeah, a lot of good things from the secondary, and MJ I think is going to be fine as that nickel guy, the guy that you can kind of move around.
So the second part to his question was, do you think Sean Murphy Bunting will take his spot once he's up to speed? Um,
It's possible.
yeah, and again, guys, Bruce Arians wants the best player on this team on the field. He
Mm.
doesn't have, he's not got like his favorite guy, like we've seen in past regimes where you have guys and you're wondering, what the hell is this guy doing out here on the field when there's
Mhm.
other guys that should get opportunities? No, Bruce Arians wants the best guy on the field. So if Sean Murphy Bunting does what he can to get playing time and eventually takes that spot, then he's earned it.
Yeah, I think with Sean, I think Sean's just going through the same things that like MJ Stewart and those guys went through last year. A lot of it is just learning and knowing the playbook, knowing where you're supposed to be, and that's why MJ's on the field. I mean, he's assignment sound. Same thing with the rest of the starters; like they know where to be. So I think with Sean, it's just about getting up to speed as far as
Yeah.
the pace of the game, but also knowing where to go as far as assignments, and I'm sure he's getting better at that. But right now they don't really need to force the issue. I think they can just develop him within time, and then probably down the road you might see him get more opportunities.
Yeah. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Just
Mm.
if you have your guy that's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer right now, just wait. You may eventually see him on the field. This roster
Mm.
is fluid, and it
Yeah.
will be fluid all the way to the end of the season. I mean, uh, again, like I said, Bruce Arians wants the best player on the field, and if that happens to be a guy that you guys really like, and then he's gonna make his way out there. So definitely
Mm.
something to keep in mind. Supreme 813 was talking about, are you concerned with OJ Howard's slow start? I am
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Again, there's so much more football to be played. You've got Cameron Brate is doing his thing. So again, when OJ Howard comes along, I think he'll be just fine. Again, it's, and what you had to keep in mind, this is a brand new offense. So there are just things as far as getting comfortable in this offense, and the whole team gelling, the whole offense gelling. So I know these sounds like they sound like cliches, but these are very factual. I mean, he hasn't lost any skill set. He hasn't forgotten how to play football. It's just not his time yet, and I think that he will definitely come into his own.
Yeah, I would say, OJ definitely can play better. I think Bruce Arians talked about that, how he can play better. Didn't have a great first game against San Francisco, obviously. And I think last week he did a good job of, blocking
He got
and
some
being
nice blocks, yeah.
yeah, factor in the run game. I'm not concerned. I think OJ will have his numbers, like you said, within time. People forget, like, this team is going to be committed to running the football,
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
that makes a difference as far as your passing numbers, and we can see that so far. Um, they're going to do everything they can to make this job on Jameis, easier as far as what he needs to be able to do. Um, and again, at times, and that was the big thing last week. I think they did a good job of making it easier for Jameis. He still had some moments where you like to see him get rid of the football, but at some point, sometimes these guys are just not open, and you have to get rid of the ball or take the sack like he did, which I think was smart. So, as Jameis progresses in this offense and learns, where guys are supposed to be and gets comfortable, right now it's just about playing smart football, and that's, pounding the rock and not turning it over and letting your defense do what they do.
Yeah. The fact that he didn't have any turnovers, it was pretty quiet. In social media. Nobody was really talking about that. But
Right.
again, just what I'm, and maybe I'm wrong. I would love to ask this question: is he 100% getting used to having a defense that he can rely on? I think that's something that
Mhm.
he hasn't had in his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a consistent basis. And I just wonder if that's what we're seeing now, where he's content to eat that sack or take that sack just so that you could play and win that field position battle.
Right. No, I agree with that. I think he's finally trusting, the other parts of the team, and I think that's going to make a huge difference. And really, if you look at it, like we said earlier, if those guys, if Mike Evans and Perriman catch those touchdown passes, I mean that's two more, that's three touchdowns to zero interceptions. The Bucs win pretty comfortably in this game. So I think he's coming along. It looked like he was more decisive, which was nice to see. And he talked
Yeah.
about that today, just being decisive. And he's getting more comfortable each week. So if that can continue to grow, like I said, you clean up the penalties. We didn't have some of the penalties that we had last week on offense, probably would have scored more points as well. So those things just need to come in, together, and, defense just continue to do what they're doing right now. I think it's good things ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to kind of jump ahead to this game versus the New York Giants. I know we've been going back and forth, kind of talking about last week's game, talking about this week's game.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to discuss, because I really love defense, and I think, defense is my thing. I want to kind of get your thoughts on the New York Giants defense. I mean, how do they match up against a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team?
Well, I think, for the Bucs offense, I think it's actually a pretty good matchup. I think with our passing options, and I think this is probably going to be the game we see the passing offense kind of come to life. I think there's going to be opportunities. As far as what the Giants present, they're a 3-4 defense, and they're pretty similar to what Todd Bowles runs as far as scheme wise. There you go, nice beer. But yeah, they run a 3-4. Their linebacker core is kind of suspect. Safety group is okay. They have Jabril Peppers. They picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pretty decent safety. The corners are pretty good with Janoris Jenkins. But really, I think there's going to be opportunities because they don't really have much of a pass rush. They have to generate, through pressure. I think, the middle of the field is where you want to attack as far as the passing game. I think there's going to be opportunities there using a Cam Braid, O.J. Howard, etc. So I think this could be a good game for Jameis Winston and company if the offensive line can pick up the blitzes and be decisive. I think will be good. Running the football, you want to run it to the outside on the edges because their strength of their defense is probably up the middle with guys like Tomlinson and B.J. Hill and
Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence. So those are like their main. Like they have some big guys up front, and that they can cause some problems. So we have to be smart as far as where we attack. And I think the middle of the field is somewhere to go.
Yeah, most definitely. So if you're looking at this and you're looking at the defense as a whole, it sounds to me like in your opinion, the strength is within that defensive line, and that's everything else kind of runs after that. Basically, the defensive line is the wheel that is the engine to the car, basically.
Yeah, it's a very good stout run defense as far as up the middle. You don't want to attack them like right up behind the center. I think you can get them if you can get on the edge or get off tackle. I think there's ability to make some plays. I don't think their linebacking core is very impressive. You look at like their main pass rusher is Marcus Golden, who's with Arizona, and he's got some ability as far as a speed rush. So he'll be a guy to watch, but they really just don't have much as far as what they can do as far as pressuring the quarterback. They're going to bring pressure, so Jameis has to be smart and getting rid of the football quick. And there's going to be opportunities there to have some big plays over the middle or to the flats. So I like it. I mean, he faced this defense last year, a little bit different personnel, but still, I think there'll be opportunities to attack.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key difference between the two games this year and last year is
Mhm.
this defense. The
Yes.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not have that defense, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to go on record saying that defense was a liability last year.
Oh yeah.
Just based on when you look at the overall season, that was always the theme, was that you got to worry about the defense giving up that big play or getting
Mhm.
gouged with that big run or giving up that home run touchdown, and they weren't able to shut games down and get the offense off the field.
Right. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, overall, the Giants' defense, it's very similar to what the Bucs present. Very stout up the middle. So just going to have to be smart in how you attack them. Again, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities with Chris Godwin and especially the tight ends. I think this will be a good game for them to get involved. And then looking at going over to the other side, their offense versus our defense. Again, I think it's a good matchup. The unknown is Daniel Jones, obviously,
Yeah,
with the rookie quarterback.
right.
Daniel Jones was our QB1 over at Real Bucks Talk. I thought he was the best quarterback prospect from this draft. And then, Kyler Murray second. From a pocket presence, Daniel Jones is very accurate. He has a good release.
And
So,
he's able to process. The one thing that, and I don't want to jump in. I'll let you get back to what you were saying. The
mhm,
one thing that kind of stuck out to me was how fast he can process a defense and get the ball out
right.
accurately. And I think that's why New York was so quick to grab him off the board, is just based on those behaviors and that type of potential, what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, looking at their offense, obviously the big key is shutting down Saquon Barkley. I mean, you're not going to shut him down. I mean, you just got to hope you can contain him
Yeah,
and not let him get those big plays that he's capable of doing. But, the biggest key, we're going to have to get pressure on Daniel Jones. I think if we can apply consistent pressure and get in his face, and especially early, you can try to rattle him a little bit, and then he'll be more prone to throwing those mistakes, and we got to take advantage of that.
yeah,
But it's pretty simple as far as what the defense will be asked to do. Obviously, they're going to go heavy through Saquon. Evan Ingram, the tight end, is going to be someone to watch. That's their go-to weapon. I don't
yeah.
think Sterling Shepard's going to be in this week, just because.
Is he concussion protocol, or
Yeah,
who's?
concussion. So, yeah, I don't think he'll be in there, and that's a big blow to their receiving core. Because the receivers that they have, I mean, they're decent, but they're just not name guys. There's nothing really that puts fear into your defensive backs.
Yeah,
They do run block very well, and that just goes right into their offense as far as running the football. So that's going to be the big key if we can get pressure on Daniel Jones early and not let Saquon take over the game.
yeah, absolutely. Daniel Villanueva had an interesting question when he was saying, "Do you guys think they should at minimum double Ronald Jones touches?" Um, I think that how the game flows
Yeah.
is how you will see Ronald Jones utilized. I think a lot of it was situational football, where you had a hot hand with Peyton Barber, so
Hmm.
you don't want to be a dirt cutter and pull your hot guy and go a different direction. You want to kind of keep that thing moving, and if there does become an opportunity to get him out there, get him out there. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of football to be played. We've got a brutal away schedule, and you
Hmm.
want these guys as fresh as you can get them. That includes your Dare Ngumbawale, guys like Tanner Hudson. These are guys that you will see as these games drag on and these away games drag on, and you really hope to have them at 100% so they can contribute as well.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's why this game is very critical. And I think that's why, you hear the guys talking about the sense of urgency, and that's why I want to see like a very fast start, on Sunday. And if they can do that, I think they'll be in good shape. It's just playing with that fire and continuing to build on what you did last week because. If you lose this game, then you have to start back at zero, and you really don't want to do that. You want to continue to build and get wins. And you really have an opportunity to get a couple wins coming up, as the season goes on because of what is going around the league. You know, you look at the Saints and the Panthers,
Mhm.
quarterback, questions right now. So, it gives you a big opportunity to take advantage.
Yeah, most definitely. Brandon Fuller, thank you for this. This is really interesting. Our defense is definitely going to get tested. McCaffrey, Barkley, Gurley, then Kamara, and
Yeah.
like he was saying, you hope they hold it down. It's all about execution. If this defensive coordinator keeps calling plays, and this defense can go out and execute like they're supposed to, the Bucs are in every single one of these games.
Oh
These are
yeah.
all winnable games. These aren't games where they're going to get blown out of the gym. These are games where they could potentially win these games.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd be shocked if the Bucks are blown out at any point during this season. They have a lot of good things going right now as far as in place. Main thing is, got to stay healthy. And this coaching staff, I think, is going to get these guys to be better. Like I said, it's continuing to get comfortable in these systems and continuing to, cut down on the penalties. And I think you'll see the penalties cut down overall throughout the league. A lot of the penalties happen just because, you're getting into a faster pace in the regular season, and a lot of things happen, like a blink of an eye. So I think that's going to improve. I think you're going to see better technique as the season goes on. Guys just get more in a rhythm and they get more in tuned as far as how they play.
Yeah, and I'm right there. I'm right there with you 100%. And I think what gets missed with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team this year is
Mm.
you're looking at a new defense and a new offense. You're looking at a totally new coaching staff, and you're
Mm.
looking at a totally different philosophy than anything you've seen, I would
Right.
say, over the past decade, to be very honest. I mean, when you line everything up and you see how they are training, how their staff is set up, how their philosophy is, accountability, just the different things that you're seeing right now. And we talked about this preseason, but we couldn't really say 100% this is what we're going to see. But as things are going on, they're falling into place just like we kind of talked about.
Yeah, definitely. And that's absolutely right. I mean, we never had a 3-4 defense, at least for a long time. And then you look at this offense, yeah, it's kind of similar to Dirk Cutter's, but it's not the same thing. There's a lot of different aspects. There's a lot of different as far as formations and what the offensive line is asked to do. So yeah, there's a lot of things getting used to. I mean, Carson Palmer struggled in this offense for the first half of the year. So there's going to be some growing pains, but just got to hope it continues to get better as we are winning games instead of losing.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's the key right there. And
Mhm.
it's one game at a time. And I
Right.
know that sounds cliche. I'm not looking past this game coming up against the New York football Giants. This is
Right.
the only game on my radar right now. Once we get past this game, then we can talk about the next game. But, as David brought up a very interesting point when he said, as a Bucks fan, I'm scared of Jones more than Eli. I believe he should take advantage of the rookie and make him try to beat us through the air. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely true. But again, it comes down to execution. It comes down to going out there and making those plays.
Mhm.
And like we've been talking, me and Mike, you've been talking about this as well. It's not about penalties. It's about when the penalties are occurring,
Right.
and how much the Bucks in the past 2 weeks have hurt themselves. So these are things when they clean this up. This makes this team a lot more formidable than what we've seen.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just about, you got to be really smart during those critical moments. And that's something that they did better of last week. I mean, they finished the game and got a key victory. So they got to do the same this week against, or not San Francisco, New York Giants. And they got to they just got to play smart football. I think they do that. They have a really good chance against this team. Again, this team is going to look to strike early, especially with the Giants I'm talking about. They're 0-2. They're going to be desperate, so they're going to try some things early on. And I think the Bucs have to be ready for that and match that energy because, frankly, I think if you get up on them early, I think you have a chance to really build on it and just, put them in a hole that they just can't climb out of.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's just the Bucs not beating themselves, going out there and executing.
Yeah.
And I cannot stress this enough. I know that I'm beating a dead horse here, but just getting to watch the communication out there on the field. You had Mentor come in for your starting middle linebacker, and I thought he did a great job just
Right.
coming in there and not being, part of the problem, but actually, he kind of started out kind of bumpy, but as the game drew on, he did a great job. And I don't think Mentor has gotten the props that he deserves, just based on what he was able to come out and do. And speaking of injuries, how is Devin White? Will we get to see him on Sunday?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a little earlier, but I think he's going to be out, probably out this week. I think if anything, he'll come back next week. I think you will see a little bit more of Dayon Buchanan. I think that'll be a guy that will get in there, especially against.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I think especially against Evan Ingram. I think Buchanan will be utilized more to help cover. Mentor's not the fastest guy back in coverage, so that'll be something to look for on Sunday. But I think Devin White, Jamel Dean, Blaine Gabbert, those guys are going to be out, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I would rather hold off on those guys, have them healthy 100% when it's time to really use them, or when they're really called upon to be needed as this season draws on. So
Exactly.
I'm definitely good with, kind of where we are right now. And just the quality of play that we've gotten, especially run stopping, has been or just a breath of fresh air just to get to watch that right now.
Yeah, it starts up. I mean, when you have Ndamukong Suh and you have Vita Vea, I mean, your run defense should be stout. That's the strength of this team as far as defensively goes. The defense runs through those two guys, and then you have Levante David just cleaning everything up.
Yes.
And I think he's going to continue to get better as well. So it's exciting. Now it's just about continuing, like we said, just continue to execute. And make those plays when you have the opportunities. We dropped some interceptions last week, so you want to see those guys make those plays
Yeah.
and capitalize.
Yeah, most definitely. And what I really love is not seeing our defensive lineman getting up off the ground after getting pancaked by a freaking offensive lineman. So
Right.
again, shout out to that defensive line and what they're doing. Vastly improved over last year. I will say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So Brandon Fuller in the chat was asking, haven't paid too much attention to the Giants O-line. Are they decent? And I don't think we really talked about the D-line a little bit, but I don't think we touched on the O-line too much, did we?
Yeah, I mean their O-line is improved. They did make some additions. I think they brought over Kevin Zeitler. They still have Nate Soldier. So they have some guys. Will Hernandez is a good guard as well. The offensive line is good. Again, it can be beaten. But again, it goes back to their strength, which is running the football, and that's what they do well. So they are a good run blocking unit. But I think they are suspect in pass protection, which I think we're going to attack. But like I said, I expect Todd Bowles to blitz early and often. Really attack that line of scrimmage, because for the most part, you pretty much know it's going to be a running play. So
Yeah.
you got to attack, and I think they're going to attack early on first and second down.
Yes, definitely something to look forward to. Just seeing how they do that.
Yeah.
And I know we're getting close to the end here. We've almost been on an hour. It's just hard to believe. It's crazy when me and you start talking football that we end up just talking all the way through a whole hour. But I don't want to sound cliche. A couple of things that I want to try is, what are your keys to the game? And then I want to get who you would give your game ball to outside. And when Shaq Barrett is off the table, let's come up with somebody else.
Okay, so game ball for the Panthers game?
Yeah, for the Panthers game, and then we will. Okay. But let's start with keys to the game, and we'll go back to that.
Okay, yeah, keys to the game for this week. I pretty much mentioned it. I think fast start is number one. Number two, don't let Saquon Barkley beat you. And then 3, I think, is just a combination of all those things, and that's playing smart football. They do those things. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, all right. So who are you giving your game ball to?
Game ball. I'm gonna give it to Jameis Winston. I thought just the way he fought back and rebounded, I thought was really nice and really good of him to show that he's got all the capabilities to be a great quarterback. It's just about putting those little things together. I think he's figuring that out now.
Yeah, there we go. So for me, the keys to this game, Saquon Barkley, the name that and like you said, you can't stop him. You just have to contain him, and just keep him from getting those big plays, and just kind of keep him in front of you. I think that's going to be huge. Again, make the rookie quarterback beat you if he can, and execute it. Make sure you're executing on both sides of the ball. Again, I have a lot of faith just off of 2 games, and I know maybe I'm a homer here, but just after watching 2 games, I really have a lot of faith in this defense compared to what we've seen over the past couple of seasons. I'm really excited about this defense and the play calling, so I'm good with that. On the other side of the ball, Jameis Winston not getting any turnovers. Establish the run and get your tight ends involved. I think that you have 2 great tight ends that are a defensive coordinator nightmare, and I think you have to take advantage of that, especially with this team. And as you mentioned, with the defensive personnel that they have, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be able to get those mismatches and take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think my game ball is going to go to Bruce Arians. This is and the reason I say this, we've seen this team go out and lose a heartbreaking game and then go on a 4-game losing streak. So for Bruce Arians to get people in line, get people, hey, we're all on the same page and this is what we need to do. People do not realize how important coaching is until you have horrible coaches. So as Bucs fans, we know, throughout this past decade, what it means to have a good coach and a bad coach. So I think Bruce Arians definitely deserves the game ball. If he can keep people's heads in the game and only focus on the next game at hand, I think that he will have a lot of success. So that's my guy.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, he had the guys ready to play, and that's why I'm, confident going into this week. I think, this team is just going to be prepared every week, and that makes a huge difference. Especially from what we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. This is the second question I've heard about the defensive ranking. I think the Bucs are currently ranked. What are they ranked, like 10 or 8 or something like that? Something weird. I think they were 10 last week against the Niners, and I think this week, what are they like? I don't know. I think they're like 10 or 8.
Definitely top 10. And as far as yards and stuff like that goes, they would be top 10 as far as scoring points if they didn't have, the unfortunate, turnovers in week 1 as far as points allowed with the pick sixes and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're right there. I think they're allowing about 14.5 points per game. So that puts them right in the top 10 category.
Yeah, and I think about this time last year, they were giving up like 30-something points a game or something to that effect. It was pretty.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. Brandon Man was saying they're 7th in total defense right now.
Yeah, so, there you go. Yeah, I mean they're on their way. They just got to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's going to be a huge part of it. And again, just being able to go this game. This is the only game that matters. Going out there, executing and playing, and taking care of this game, and then focusing on the next game. I think that's what's going to be most important. And if the Bucs get successful winning games, keeping them in line, keeping their head straight where they're not reading their own press clippings. I go back to the Hard Knocks season, and all the cartoon characters we saw then, and just how this team underachieved grossly. And again, I think Jason Light has done a great job with bringing in talent. he's had some misses, but for the most part, I think that there's been talent here. They just have been, I consider coaching and untimely injuries a huge part of why they haven't been successful. But again, you had those guys in these past 2 seasons, and they just have underperformed. So let's hope that this coach can keep them going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree.
All right. So I'm gonna run through the chat one more time, make sure I haven't missed anybody. And while I'm doing that, guys, if you have any last questions before we jump out of here, let me know. Daniel Villanueva, thank you so much. Will we sustain it? I believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can. I think that you've got everybody on that team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, buying into this defense, and they look so fluent with it. And one of the things that really I'm excited about is, the communication. We saw them last year, and I have to go back to last year because that's all I can really compare it. But they look like they were walking in quicksand sometimes. And now you have a team that can go out and instinctively play and do what they need to do without overthinking things.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it. It goes back to coaching. Like, they're just making it simple. They're not, like you said, not overthinking. And they're able to play fast. And, I just see the difference as far as tackling. That's been critical. And guys being able to be in position to make plays. Same thing offensively. The offensive line, I think, is already improved, just through the coaching. Yeah, they still have their, troubles with, the offensive tackles and speed rush and stuff like that. But, that's every team. Every team struggles as far as pass protection. It's a problem in the NFL.
Yeah.
But that, I just think, like, collectively, they're all on, the same page. And I think that's been the biggest improvement so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I really hope that they can, as they continue to grow, that they continue to improve. The offensive line, I'm not too worried about. It's a matter of them gelling. It's a matter of them becoming one and playing as a unit, and we just haven't seen that yet. And I'm making this prediction that they will get better. And again, when we get into next season, that's when you address certain things with this offensive line. But hey, you've hitched your horse to them right now. Let's see what they can do with good coaching. So I'm super excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to go down the list here real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and jump out of here. Antoine Cates, Jay Clark, XLU Garvey, thank you. Brent Allen, thank you for checking us out. I really appreciate that. Great podcast, Pewtercast. Buck the World 2.0, Tall FL Guy, TC Baby 1, longtime listener. Perry Mathis, thank you for joining us and contributing in the chat. Bucks fan 727, Lane Johnston, what's going on? Longtime listener. Let's see. Who am I missing? Ken F from the Bahamas. What's going on, man? Thank you for checking us out. Stephen Bass, Brandaman, my guy, Rex Dillon, from Bucaholics. Bucaholics, you guys get ready to watch them when they play the Rams. I can promise you, you'll probably have 1,000 Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans at the tailgate just tearing it up. So look for them. If you are a Bucs fan, look for that Bucaholics chapter in your area. They are great to follow. It's just wonderful what they do for the community as well. So I think they're a great representation of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're greatly appreciated. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Who else am I missing? Tampa Supreme 813. Thank you for contributing. Andre Johnson, thank you. David Villanueva, new listener, thank you so much. You're appreciated. It looks like he's talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win. His prediction, 24-17. Brandon Fuller says 27-20. Real question, how much more time does this O-line need to gel? It's the same line as last year. Yeah, you've got different coaches, and I'm not for sure if their scheme is the same. It doesn't look the same as what we saw last year. So
Yeah.
again, it just will. Time will tell if that's definitely what the problem is. So, but that's just kind of an outsider looking in, and that's kind of what I'm seeing, Brent. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Um, Trying to make sure I haven't missed anybody here. Again, thank you guys so much. The offensive line is already improving. Rex Dillon, again, from Bucaholics, thank you so much. Again, guys, thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to try to get this all up on iTunes as soon as I get off here. So be sure to check us out. Again, thanks a lot, and everybody have a